Well, that was toast and coffee. The time is 17 minutes past 2, and at 2:30 we'll be going straight through to a live phone-in with Nichola from the Dolphin Conservation Charity.
Well and Dolphin Conservation. It's a mouthful.
Yeah,
the great thing about the name, though, is that Well and Dolphin Conservation tells you exactly what they do.
Yeah. With all the songs that you have done, is there any particular songs that has a special meaning to you? Obviously, all songs has a special meaning in some way, but is there a particular certain songs that has a special meaning to you?
So I think the easiest way of answering that is probably looking at the song which is most different in terms of its subject matter. So all of my material is all based on love for our planet. So majority of music is based on love songs. You know, we can look at the top 100,
yeah.
90-95% love songs about people themselves and their emotions, broken hearts, and other subjects related to that. And none of my material is related to love songs.
Yeah.
And it's all born of love for our planet and everything on it. But the one song which is different, is a pure love song, was the song Save Our World, which I wrote for my daughter. She's now 5 years old, and it's called Save Our World, and it's self-explanatory, and it's all about the love I have for my daughter and what we have to do to change things and make her future positive and make the world a great place.
So do you explain to your daughter like what type of music you're writing, and like
she's there all the time telling me to shut up because she wants to get on the microphone. So she said, "Shut up, Daddy! Stop singing. I want to sing." So I get a lot of that. But yeah, so she's there with me, and she loves listening to the new stuff I'm releasing. She loves dancing, and I've got a studio at home, and we've got keyboards, we've got bongos, we've got guitars, we've got loads of instruments, and she's showing real expression and interest in the bongos and percussion. But yeah, she loves singing along, and I tell her about what everything's about and what my mission is about, and she really understands that. She understands the impact of plastic, she understands about the impact of climate change, and she's only 5, and you have to kind of drip feed the stuff. But yeah, so she's really into the music and really into the mission as well.
When was your first gig? Was it in a pub or like in a...
So this is really interesting in that when I went back to music, what I wanted to do, instead of going out and playing covers in local pubs, I wanted to make my own material and be really happy with that, and then go and perform that. So even though I got back into music in 2016, I didn't really get out there and play a gig until the back end of 2018, because I wanted to make sure my technique was right, but then I also had the material. So I actually, before I started playing live, I released an album, which is unusual to most musicians. So I recorded Choices, which I released in 2018, and I thought, well, I'll put it live and it's just going to go viral. And it doesn't happen that way because I had no audience, so I had to build my audience. So I went out and played that live, and it's in a local pub to me. And since then, that was at the end of 2018, and then I decided to really take the ball by the horns and start organising my own events. And last year I was really privileged to be playing for the Time Is Now, which is the mass lobby at Parliament. There's 10,000 people there. I played at the Youth Climate Strike. You might obviously the climate strikes by Greta Thunberg. I played there by the Thames to about 14,000 people in I think it's September, so that was great. But yeah, in a nutshell, I started off playing my own material but in a small pub, and it was funny because I don't know what I was thinking. It was a Sunday, I can't remember what date it was, but it's after a rugby game, and I got there, turned up about 3 o'clock, and there was like 10 guys there, pretty hungover. I started playing, and they all left after about an hour. So it's all a great experience, and every musician will know it's good practice to play to those empty venues.
So has music always been in your blood?
Absolutely. So my I was fortunate to be born into a family that was very musical loving. My father was a guitarist, a rhythm guitarist in the 60s, and both my uncles were very good guitarists. And my mum she wasn't a professional singer, but she loved singing. She's in choir, and my aunt was as well. And we all grew up. They loved funk and disco, and it was always music around, guitars around. And it's thanks to my guitar, my dad, thanks to my father, he insisted I learn classical guitar, so I didn't forget the scales and the melodies, etc. Because he was a rhythm guitarist and he lost that and he forgot that. And because he insisted on me learning classical guitar, after this massive gap I had away from music, when I went back to music, I was able to pick up really quickly.
Yeah.
But in answer to your question, I was surrounded by music right from birth, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's good, because obviously with some people, were you in a band before, or have you been always a solo?
Always so. Well, so I was in a band. I was in a band of sorts in my when I was a teenager, but we never really played live. It was always kind of just a school band. So no. So I haven't really been in a band of sorts. And I make a joke when I'm playing live, because I have my band. Everything's pre-recorded and pre-composed and by me and written, and I have my backing tracks with me. So I'm playing live, my live guitar with all my effects and everything. I'm singing live, but I make a joke that I've got the best, well-behaved band in the world, because it's all set on my phone.
Yeah.
That's all pre-recorded tracks. So I haven't been in a band before, but I have got a network of musicians that almost act like an extended band when it comes to writing and producing.
All right, we're going to go into the next song. It is by James Gittins, and this is Changes. Then we'll be going to a live phone call with Nichola. So here it is.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Well, good afternoon. The time is past. We are now going to do a live filming with Nichola from Whale and Dolphin Condervastion.
Hi, Nichola. It's James Gittins.
Hi there, how are you?
Really good, really good. Just to let you know, you're live on radio, on Omnium Radio, here in Plymouth. Hi, say a big hello.
Hi, Nichola.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to the group. Welcome to the show, even.
Brilliant. So, Nichola, if you could just start off by giving us an overview of Whale and Dolphin Conservation, what the organisation is about, and your mission and objectives.
Sure, absolutely. So Whale and Dolphin Conservation is a leading international charity focused on, as the name suggests, whales, dolphins and porpoises. So there are approximately 90 species of whale, dolphin and porpoise in the world, so our work is very much focused on all of those. We have offices around the world. So we have an office here, head office is in Chippenham, near Bath in Wiltshire. And we have an office in Germany, in Munich, one in Buenos Aires in Argentina, one in Massachusetts on the east coast of the US, and another one in Adelaide in Australia. We've been going for just over 30 years, and as I say, the main objective really is that we are looking to ensure that every whale and dolphin is safe and free and in the wild. So our main objectives really are to end captivity, to make sure that there are no whales or dolphins left in any kind of facility for entertainment purposes. Also to end bycatch, which is probably one of the major killers of whales and dolphins around the world. Also to end whaling, and that can be everything from the large-scale whaling from the Japanese, Norwegians, right down to the small hunting of the smaller dolphins that happens around the world as well. That's mostly illegal, but it still happens, and actually it's a massively escalating problem.
I've got a question to you both. How did you both meet? Who got in touch with who?
So me and Nichola haven't actually met yet. What happened was 2 weeks ago, I was looking at changing my whale and dolphin conservation partner from Sea Shepherd, and I reached out to a number of organisations and got in contact with Whale and Dolphin Conservation and asked them if they'd be interested in working with me on the Pirate Disco experience, which we're taking around the country and is in support of ocean conservation. And Whale and Dolphin Conservation came back and said they'd be very much interested in working with us, and there the relationship started. So I'm working with the engagement team at Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and they wanted to put me in contact with a subject matter expert for this interview. This is why we're speaking to Nichola, because she's very, very knowledgeable on all things that the organisation does.
I mean, dolphin and whales are such nice animals. Is there enough being done to stop waste and pollution going into the sea, and what measures are in place?
Do you want to answer that one, Nichola?
Sorry, I didn't quite.
Obviously, we've got a big problem with. Obviously, whale and dolphin conservation is very important. Have we got enough measures in place to stop waste and pollution happening in our oceans at this stage?
The simple answer is no. No, there's a huge amount more that we can do. I mean, if you take out all the other threats that they're facing, and we just look at, as you say, what we're potentially putting into the oceans, and that can be everything from the plastics, which obviously everybody's talking about. It's very much in your face, and people can see that as an issue. But we've also got to think of the amount of toxins that are going in. This can be historical from PCBs, which were used a lot in industrial kind of heating. Many years ago, they're now banned, but there's lots of things. DDT, I'm sure people have heard of, which has also been banned, but actually there's got such a long life that actually it kind of goes down into the soil and it comes back up again and gets moved through the water column. So we're finding a lot of different species, predominantly the toothed whales and dolphins, because they're higher up the food chain, they're eating fish, and they really are, the toxic loads in some of these animals is just through the roof. There was an orca that washed up on the coast of Tiree a couple of years ago, and it was seen then that this animal has never reproduced and probably never would, because she was just so laden with toxins and chemicals.
And how bad is the mercury problem still? Is it PCBs or mercury? And I read somewhere that the problem we've got is that a lot of mercury and PCBs still on land, yet to go into the sea.
Yes, absolutely, and but mercury definitely so. And this is the thing as well, because we've got lots of the runoff that happens. So there's not the regulations in place that will stop this happening. So it's a major concern really, is to try and limit what the runoff into the oceans actually is, and the impact, because we tend to have that idea that out of sight, out of mind. People they look at the sea and it's as if they see it in 2D. They don't see it in 3D and what's really happening underneath the water. And there's lots of other threats as well. I mean, again, noise is probably a huge issue. If you think we communicate really by sight, that's our main kind of, we see what's happening around us. Yes, we listen, but we can still see, whereas animals underwater, whales and dolphins tend to focus, their predominant sense is their hearing. So if you're adding so much more noise into the ocean, then they're going to have to shout louder to communicate. They're separated from their pod mates. It's really quite worrying that the range of threats that are out there, and certainly a lot of people don't necessarily.
So what can we do? What can we do then, Nichola? I mean, simple things that we could do. Sorry, Foxy, if I focus on your question there. But what things? Obviously, we can talk a lot about the doom and gloom and what's wrong. But what can we do? The average guy on the street thinks, well, whales and dolphins in the oceans. What can I do? So, can you give us some simple kind of, say, 3 or 4 or 5 points, things that we can do individually that are going to help the problem?
Sure, yeah, okay. I mean, if you let's start with the plastics. I mean, I think that's one that we're all kind of quite genned up on now. So we know that we just have to make sure that we are recycling. Predominantly, we're actually not buying single-use plastics in the first place. But if you are, then you want to recycle. You want to make sure that you're, kind of limiting the amount of plastics that you're sending to any kind of landfill or recycle, and certainly kind of flushing things down toilets or into storm drains. They all lead out to the ocean. A second thing that you could do would be if you are a fish eater, we're not advocating that everybody stops eating fish tomorrow. I mean, I'm sure that the oceans would certainly benefit if that did happen.
Of course.
But predominantly what to do is to really consider where your fish is coming from. The same as really you should be doing with any kind of meat, whether it's beef or pork. But think about where your fish is coming from. Ask questions as to where it's coming from. A lot of the fisheries out there are not sustainable, and they also have a relatively high bycatch of dolphins. I mean, I don't know whether just now as well, down where you are, just in the region, there's been quite a lot of strandings of common dolphins.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here in Plymouth, really? Okay, wow.
Yeah, and this is predominantly because there's super trawlers.
Oh, the McGray, what's it called? That massive, huge boat. What's that called? Gives them the
Yeah, absolutely. And they also have others where they have pair trawlers, so the two trawlers go along and they throw a net between the two of them.
And so are these dolphins being put back then? Are they being caught, dead, and then being turned back in the ocean?
Yes. So they'll be hauled up in the net.
That's
By
horrendous.
the time, yeah, and the problem is as well for them. Obviously, they're air breathers like us, so for them, they choose to breathe. So for them, they're not actually going to drown. But what they happen is they just don't choose to breathe again. So they end up suffocating because it takes so long for the net to be pulled in, and they're stuck and they can't get to the surface. So they just get thrown back into the water. So really, consider what fish choices you're making. I mean, some of these fisheries are said that they're MCS sustainable, etc., etc. It's worth taking a little bit of a closer look at exactly where it's coming from. For example, I think one of the only truly bycatch friendly, cetacean friendly fish is probably Poland line tuna, which is zero bycatch. Another couple of things you can do is if you end up going to the seaside and down to the coast and you see whales and dolphins, if you happen to be on a boat or something, give them space. Don't disturb
Go
them.
too close to them.
Close to them, yeah, absolutely. They're wild animals after all. And if you saw a lion, if you happen to be in Africa, you wouldn't just run up to a lion that you saw and jump out. Whales and dolphins have never been known to injure people, but at the same time, they're incredibly strong animals, and just one flick of the tail could really injure you and potentially even kill you. So try not to disturb, try to give them some space. And then predominantly as well, then you're probably thinking of captivity. Don't go and visit a captive facility.
No, absolutely not.
If you go on holiday, whether it's SeaWorld or these, more and more places are advertising, come and see some whales and dolphins. And a lot of people I know they might go to Dubai and places, and they'll say, well, we'll just pop along anyway. And I'm sure it's not, they look happy, they look to be smiling and jumping through hoops. The majority of these dolphins have actually been taken from the wild. They've been plucked from their family, and the rest of their family would have been slaughtered straight after. So that's an easy kind of choice that you can make, just when you want to do with your spare time when you're on holiday. And another one as well would be kind of support an organisation like WDC, who we can keep you up to date, with our newsletters and magazines, and you can really start to see the work that we're doing, which, as I say, is varied and across a whole range of countries and a whole range of species and threats.
Brilliant.
I mean, with fishing, Nichola, I think they just need to be aware that dolphins are out there because they can quite easily get stuck into their nets, can't they?
Sure. Yes, they can. And I think, so we're actually working with some fishermen up in Scotland, and we're also working with fishermen off the east coast of the US, because, I think it sometimes fishermen get a really bad rep for it. People are blaming them for the fact that there's the biggest thing of plastic in the oceans is actually fishing nets. And they get a bad rap for it. They get bad because they're the ones, obviously, that are putting up the nets with dead dolphins. The majority of fishermen around the world, from one country to the next, they don't want to kill dolphins. That's not what they're out there to do. No. They're out there to catch fish. And therefore, what we're trying to ping, and hopefully this will alert the dolphins and they'll stay away from it. We're also training some fishermen up in Scotland, as I say, to be able to disentangle any whales or dolphins that may get caught up in some of their creel ropes. So certainly when you're eating lobster or things, they're coming from creels which are left on the seabed, and they're obviously attached by ropes. And it happens that humpback whales, for example, are really they're quite a common one to become entangled. So
is that the issue as well with the right whale on the Atlantic coast, on the east coast of the US? But yeah, they're a real problem because of that, aren't they? Because of the lobster pots.
Yeah. So they've got two main problems. So one, exactly that, is that they're getting entangled in the lobster pot because they're such huge animals that they happen to just get entangled, and they can end up entangling